Where our eyes are placed on our head as human beings actually means that we can't see below our feet, we can't see what's behind us, we can't see what's on top of our head, and we can't see our elbows, behind our elbows, unless we use, mirrors or cameras or some other kind of devices. So there are just certain blind spots that we have as human beings. And when we miss noticing something, our excuse sometimes is, well, I don't have eyes in the back of my head. I'll tell you a little story about my former life as a mother of two rambunctious little boys. They got into all kinds of things, and I recognized that I had a deeper appreciation of my acute sense of hearing, number one, and number two, this amazing parental radar that helped me know where they were most of the times. And this was important because my older child, Mark, unattended, would climb to the top of the tallest whatever. He would climb to the rooftops, he would climb to the hilltops, and he would climb to the top of trees. Now, we were living in Hawaii, and we have coconut trees that are really, really tall. One day when he was 4 years old, I walked outside, and there he was, almost to the top of a 100-foot coconut tree. And I was so cool. Mark, you need to come down. And he's like, why, Mom? And I was like, because there are rats at the top of the coconut tree. And he's like, oh, well, okay. And then he would come down. Now, this happened again and again, and inevitably he would say, Mom, how did you know I was in that tree? Mom, how did you know that I was on the roof? Mom, how did you know I'd gone up the hill? And I would say, I have eyes in the back of my head. I'm a mother. I know these things. Well, one day when he was at 6, he said, I want to see those eyes in the back of my head. And I was like, I can't, I'm totally busted. But we adapt our vision to suit whatever situation we're in. We use the sound echoes, or we use our voice, we ask questions, we hear things, we sense things. Each animal has adapted in their own ways. Our eyes are still clearly on the front of our head, but the robin has eyes on the side of his head so that he can see predators that might be coming from the side or from the behind. A wolf has eyes on the front of its head because they're hunters and they need to see their prey. A crocodile has eyeballs on the top of its head because they need to have that perspective, and they also need to be sneaky and be in the water where only their eyeballs are periscoping up so that they can be more effective and efficient hunters. Yes, so we have eyeballs that suit us, but it turns out that it's not only eyes that help us see. Scientifically, there's lots and lots of research that shows, yes, it's the rods and the cones and the optic nerve and all of that, and without our ability to see with our eyes, we actually can't see at all, but it's the combination of those faculties plus the capacity of our brain to discern that actually allows us to see. And what our brain does is we have this amazing factory up there in our brain that makes imprints and patterns, and when we see things, then it unravels those patterns. But the research that's done, that's discerning, that's actually determining what role our eyes play and what role our brains play is really amazing. So here's one thing that I want you to look at. Now, does it look like those things are moving? Pretty much. If your eyes are moving in any way, a 2012 study at St. Joseph's in Phoenix says it's our rapid eye movement that's making the image appear that it's moving. And if we were just focused on one part of that image, then everything would stop moving. So it's a combination of our brain and our eyeballs. Here's another one. Which square is darker, A or B? This is a tricky one because this actually is tricking our brain. Our brain sees the pattern of the checkerboard. MIT researchers were the ones who put this together. They said the colors are the same. A and B are exactly the same color, but they look different because the memory imprint is a checkerboard in our brain, and in our checkerboard we always think the squares have to be different. So here's what they've done. They've connected the two squares, and if you put your hands like this, and you look at only those two squares, A and B, you can see that they're the exact same color. See, it's our eyes and our brains that are working together in order for us to see. Here's another one. Do you see black dots?
Yeah.
Has an official name. It's a scintillating grid. And so what it is our rapid eye movement is causing us to think that we're seeing black dots and white dots when there are really just one. But the more our eyes move, the more our brain is deceived. We think we're seeing something that isn't actually there. Don't you love this stuff? Don't you love how it's the combination of our eyes and our brain that is causing us to see? Our brain records the patterns, and it's our brain's job to match whatever patterns we've coordinated with what we've seen. So here, take a look at this one. Do you see the pattern? What do you see? Two seahorses, actually. So that one I think is pretty easy. How about this one?
Two people kissing.
It's not two people kissing with very odd lips. Okay, let me give you an association. Think Easter. Think chocolate bunnies. There are two bunnies. You see the bunny paws. First you see the ears, and then you see the nose, and then you see the paws, and then you see the bunny belly, and then you see the... See, but those are patterns that are laid down in our brain that it takes a while for us to figure out. Do the bunny thing again. The ears. The ears are flat against, and then there's the nose, and then there's the two paws. It's like they're standing up.
Face to face.
There are two bunnies face to face. And then there's a little bunny belly, and then there's the bunny feet.
I think it's Donald Trump kissing a picture.
No, we're not even going there. We're not going there. Okay, so here's what we've done, though, is we've stored different patterns of bunnies in our brain, which is why it's hard for us to see this pattern of bunny. We've stored these patterns of bunnies in our brains, and actually what it is we've stored facts. We all store facts in our brains. I like to joke around and say that I have 3x5 cards in my brain, and that I have a little box, and I fill out my 3x5 cards, and I collect information that might be useful someday. So right off the bat, on a 3x5 card, I have the names of 3 nurses in our congregation. Terry Mann, Sharon Herner, Gail O'Brien. And why do I store this? I store it in case there's an event here at church and I can tell somebody, go get Sharon Herner right now. And then the person will go get Sharon Herner right now, right? I can tell you right off the bat that I know 2 people who have pickup trucks in this congregation, Don Dealey and Sis Tyler, and why is that important? Well, we might have to move something, right? So I have these 3x5 cards. I store facts in my mind. Some of them are obvious and some of them are innocuous, but I store them, and we all store them. And the way and the place we store it in our brain is right here. It's called the ventral stream. So when things come into the ventral stream in our brain, this is like our what detector. So what is this? It's a book, because there's an image of a catalog right here in our ventral stream. So what is this? It's a stool. What is this? It's a clicker. So these things are stored in that ventral system in our brain. Now the ventral system stream is not the only place that stores things in our brain. We also have a dorsal stream, and that's right here at the top. What the dorsal stream does to help us discern what we're seeing is it stores things by association. It stores things by where they are spatially in the world. So this clicker is in my hands. The book is on the stool. The stool is in the front of the sanctuary. So that's what the dorsal stream is doing. It's creating associations and placing them geographically in space. The third way that we see with our brain is with our limbic system. Our limbic system is what our emotional responses are to whatever we're seeing. So if we saw a cute little puppy, we would all go, oh, that's an emotional response to what we're seeing. If we saw a big hairy spider, we would all go, well, I at least would go, and I do like all kinds of contortions because they give you the heebie-jeebies. But that's a response from my limbic system. So all three of these together are how our brains see. So our eyes give the information, the eyes give the data, but the brain is the one doing all the seeing. Now, are we actually seeing what is? That's right, we're not. We're not. What we're doing is we're taking whatever we've seen and we're comparing it to what we already know. So we may think it's a fact because we've stored it in our ventral or dorsal, or it's a reaction from our limbic system, but it might not be a fact. This is really important when we consider moving from one paradigm to the other, as we have for the last several weeks in our book study, Eye of the Storm. The old paradigm, blame talk, right, wrong, win, lose, better than, less than. There can be facts about this. But David Torres, the Unity minister in Cookeville, Tennessee, says, don't let the facts become the enemy of the truth. Don't let the facts become the enemy of the truth. And I would like to embellish it just a little bit because I'm a Unity minister too, and I get to do that. I would say don't let our perception of the facts be an enemy of our evolution. Don't let the perception of the facts be an enemy of our evolution, because if we get stuck in the old paradigm, we're going to just be generating more and more conflict. This is where Jesus would have said this: judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. When we judge according to the appearance, we are anchoring ourselves in the old paradigm. We're not liberating ourselves through our power of discernment to be in the new paradigm. Metaphysics teaches us that when we focus on something, when we become attached to something, let's just say misperception or miscommunication or judgment that keeps us in the old paradigm, then that vibration amplifies what's going on in our lives. It makes it bigger. So if we're thinking thoughts about jerks, calling people jerks, or saying something's bad or someone's evil, we're actually bringing that into manifestation in our world because we're thinking it, because we are judging with not with righteous judgment, but according to appearance. So the big shift move is to come over and be in righteous judgment, to come into alignment, to say, wow, does that, what I'm seeing before me, match the pattern that I want it to match? The pattern that is my higher calling, that is the greater truth of me. In the Message translation, Jesus says this: don't be nitpickers. Use your head and your heart to discern what is right. Use your head and your heart to discern what is right. And that's what the author of our book, Eye of the Storm, invites us into. He says, use faith as an avenue to peace. Use love as an avenue to peace. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, defines faith as that perceiving power of the mind linked with an ability to shape substance. Charles Fillmore also defines love as that harmonizing energy of the universe, that energy that emanates from the heart and wants nothing but the best for the object of its affection. Can you imagine what the world would be like is if at every juncture where we start to feel our feathers being ruffled, where we start to pick up with our spidey sense or our cute parental sense or those echoes, those whispers, those answers that we get when we ask questions, can you imagine what the world would be like if we framed our response to the world from faith and love? What if we generated a field of faith and love so strongly in this community, in our own lives, that our only response to whatever was going on was, thank you for sharing. I know that nothing and no one is against me. I know that this is the universe conspiring for my good. I know that whatever creative tension is going on is leading to the evolution of my soul. That is exciting good news. So let's do it. Let's do it. I invite you to bring something to mind right now that has your feathers ruffled, that has your spidey sense going off, that has your radar blipping and blinking. To bring that to mind, and we will begin with prayer. And then in meditation, we will generate a field of love and faith so strong that we will exit this building at least 3 feet off the ground. Do you believe that it can be done?
Yes.
Do you believe that it can be done? Even if you believe the size of a mustard seed, it can be done. So let's begin by singing our way into meditation with prayer.